Hi, my name is Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety, and welcome to this SAG-AFTRA Foundation conversation at home with Council of Dads. Please join me in welcoming the cast of the show. We have Sarah Wayne Callies, Michael O'Neill, J. August Richards, Clive Standen, and Michele Weaver. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Having us.
Lovely to join you, Jenelle.
Thank you for all the tears, by the way, I meant to say. This is primarily for audiences of SAG actors, so I actually always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card? I remember Michele's story, but please tell us again.
Oh, do you want me to start?
Sure.
I got my SAG card from a Subway commercial. They liked the way I ate the piece of bread in the audition. It was believable, so they cast me. And I just went,
Did you actually have lines, or you just
no lines? I just pointed at, lettuce, and then I ate a sandwich. I decided to not spit out the food after I took a bite, so I think I ate equivalent of 2 footlongs for the. So I didn't, eat for a while after, but I was good. It was great. It was worth it.
Sarah, what about you?
That's a good question. I think it was a commercial as well. I think it would have been, do you get your SAG card for like regional commercials? Because this one was not national.
I think you can, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah. It was for like some insurance company, but weirdly, I still remember my line. It was, he broke his ankle. Thank you. But weirdly, the only—
You just said that line on the show a couple days ago.
That's right, I did. Oh my God. It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
The only place it aired was in upstate New York, where my husband's family is from. Like it was like regional to like between like Buffalo and Syracuse or something. It was not a big deal, but everyone that knew my husband was like, "Your wife is famous." And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. That's how I got my SAG card.
You're big in Buffalo. I love it.
Exactly.
Clive, for you?
Oh, mine's, I don't know, because I'm from Britain. A lot of my work wasn't through SAG, so mine was a boring story. It was just, it was Taken. When I started doing Taken for NBC, I had no idea. I kind of moved my whole family over to Canada, and they presented me with my SAG card. And I was like, oh, I'm a member. I'm in the team. I had no idea. Because even Vikings I did was a co-production. It wasn't through SAG. So.
Oh, wow. So your SAG card job was like a major role in a TV series. I love that.
Yeah.
Jay, for you?
They all know this story. I got my SAG card doing The Cosby Show.
No way.
Yeah, The Cosby Show was my first job in life, actually. My first acting job, my first job in life. I was a very ambitious 14-year-old, and I lived in Maryland at the time, and I watched The Cosby Show, and I was like, I should be on that show. So I found out who the casting director was. I stalked him. His name was Barry Moss. He's no longer with us. But I stalked him and ended up getting the role of Vanessa's boyfriend on The Cosby Show. And that's how I got my SAG card.
Okay, was Cosby Show NBC? Forgive me for not knowing.
It was, yes.
It was. So
Yeah.
You guys both got SAG cards through NBC.
Nice.
Very on brand. Well done.
I did as
Right.
well, Sarah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael?
My first one, Jenelle, was a series that Shirley Jones did called The Shirley Jones Show. And I got to work with her and John McIntyre and Roseanne Arquette. And it was at NBC and Universal's lot. And I went into the audition. I was playing a carpenter, and I walked in with a toolbox, and they started to laugh, and I thought, I got this job. And I remember my line was, or the most memorable line for me was, just because I'm from Tahoe doesn't mean I'm a cowboy. But they gave me my card. I was very proud of it. 106373. That was my number.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't think if they were laughing at you that was a good sign, but you took that as encouragement.
Anything was encouragement. In those days, if they paid attention to you, if they looked up, it was good.
Well, I want to start at the beginning with Council of Dads. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm so grateful for the show and all the tears it provides and all the warm feelings. I'm curious for each of you, how did the script sort of find its way to you and what attracted you to the project and specifically your roles? We can start with Jay.
Well, it came to me as an audition, and the show that I was on previously was canceled. And I remember putting out into the universe, I said, I want 3 things for my next job. I want to work with people who inspire me both professionally and personally. And I want a juicy character I can sink my teeth into that feels like a hand in a glove, but is also a challenge in a fun way. And I don't want to be on a procedural. And the first script I got was this one. And so I, have been doing this a long time, and I've learned not to fall in love with an audition. So I read it and I did love it. But I convinced myself, it doesn't matter whether you get the part or not, you've been here 1,000 times, it doesn't matter. But when I went to the audition for the first time, I straight up had a panic attack at the front of the audition. And it was strange for me because I do get very nervous, but this was something different. This was that I'm not going to remember one word that's supposed to come out of my mouth feeling. Now I realize that it was because I did want it. I wanted it so bad, and I was in love with it. And that was why I had that chemical reaction. So yeah, that's how it came to me.
Wow. Michael, what about for you?
I asked my agent if he would let me take a look at the scripts that had characters that were over 60 years old. There were 2, Jenelle. One was Bluff City Law, which Jimmy Smits did. And the other was Council of Dads. And I read it and I went, oh my God, who wrote this? Are they related to me? I'd never seen anything that felt like an old suit of clothes as much as this character did. It just invited me to bring me and get out of the way. And it moved me tremendously, organically. I've said this before, I was reading the script and something started hitting the page and I looked down and I was crying. It was tears. It was, that specific sound. I never felt manipulated by it. I just felt like I was watching life go by. So I called my agent and said, see if you can get me in on this. I'm sure there's a few actors that want this role, but I understand this guy, so I want him to see who he is.
Wow. And Clive, for you, let's ask all the dads first.
Mine was it was a real different changing gear for me. I had been offered a lead in another TV show, different pilot, and it was another action one, a bit like Lost, and I was getting ready to do that, and I was taking my car down to get fixed at the mechanics, and it was pouring with rain in LA, and my manager just rang and said, hold your horses, we've got this script coming called Council of Dads. We'd like you to give it a read. It might be right up your street. And I was in the middle of the rain, and I was like, okay, I'll get onto it as soon as I can. They said, no, you've got to read it straight away because the showrunners are leaving town at 2 p.m, and they really want to meet you today. And this was like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. So I'm rushing home. I get an Uber home from the garage, and I turn the computer on. I start reading it, and I remember this. So it was the 21st page of the script out of, I think, 56 pages, and I just started crying. And I had no idea why at the time, because it's obviously I was feeling empathy for the Perrys, and I could kind of see myself in it, but not in the way that I was admitting to at the time. I rang my manager straight away and I said, I want to take this meeting. I can't wait to meet these guys, but let me finish reading the script. So I read the script, got straight in, got an Uber, and went off down to Tony and Joan's office, the showrunners. But the thing is, I thought I was relating to Scott, the dad, who obviously dies in the first episode, because I got 3 kids myself, and I was going, I love this. I just want to be a part of it. And I went in and I started trying to, they wanted to see me for Anthony LaBelle, the character I play. But I was pitching myself to play Scott in the meeting, which is just a bizarre thing to do. And I was like, I love this guy. I love him. He's just such a great dad, and I can relate to it. And they were like, well, you do know you're here for Anthony. And I said, yeah. But the thing is, my best friend in the whole world, best man at my weddings, been there all through all the ups and downs in my life, my council of dads. He is my council of dads. It's that one man. And he was dying of cancer at the time. And I was living in LA, and I'd moved from LA, and he was back in London, and I couldn't see him. And I was avoiding it because I was like, Anthony is me, and I can't play me right now. And as soon as I was honest with them and I let it all out, and I cried in the room in front of Tony and Jonah. I was like, I felt like the worst friend in the world. Like, I'm not even in the same country as this man, let alone can I do a TV show. And they said, well, maybe this is why you need to play this role. Maybe you need to take a little, to take yourself outside of this and see what you can do with this role. And then I was in the show. It was as simple as that, but that's how it came. Thankfully he's in remission now, and it's great. But that's it seemed to just fall out of the sky, this job for me, and it seems to be more therapy than anything.
That's amazing. Sarah, did you make it? Did you cry before page 21? I'm impressed you made it that far.
I don't remember. I have actually no memory of reading the script. It hit at a place. It hit at a heart place, not a head place. And so, I was shadowing an episode of Fear the Walking Dead because I was supposed to direct later in the season, and I'd fought really hard for it. When you've been an actor, the first directing job for a show you're not acting in is the hardest one to get, right? I directed on Colony, I directed on Unspeakable, and they'd worked incredibly hard. Gimple and the whole Walking Dead team had worked really hard to kind of get me this episode, and I got a call at lunch, and they were like, you need to go home, read a script, and meet with some showrunners by the end of the day. And I was like, I can't. We were shooting nights. We had this whole thing. And I had all these no's lined up in my head like ammunition just before I even sat down with the script, because I wanted to be focusing on writing and producing and directing. I wanted to be able to influence what stories got told, because I wasn't seeing the world that I live in on television. I was seeing a world that felt kind of alien to me. So, agents prevailed on me. I read the script at lunch and I went, okay. And I came back, and my next no, because I really didn't want to have to call Scott Gimple and say, you gave me this opportunity and now I have to bail on you. The next no was, look, if these people don't have an adopted kid and a queer kid, they shouldn't be writing this show, because this is really dangerous territory. And if you're not writing it from a first person position, you shouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I say this with somebody who has a queer kid and an adopted kid myself. And then I met Tony and Joan and I went, oh, okay. So here's the thing. If I was going to try and create a story about the world as I know it, written with these children from a first person place, this is the show that I would want to create. And it's here. It's better, smarter people than I put it together. And at that point, it was just a long series of yes. But I had to fight it. I had other ideas in my head, right? And you got to get over yourself sometimes before life can let you land where you need to be.
Absolutely.
That's my dog.
Sorry.
You have a polar bear in your garden.
I've been waiting for this day.
I've never seen your dog.
This is Ghost from Game of Thrones, apparently.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, he is.
There's another one.
Are those two?
Oh, yeah, there's another one. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Ghost
Are they yours?
What?
Those aren't yours, are they?
Yeah, these are my girls.
Oh my God.
These are my girls.
I've
They never
seen
made
them
it to
before.
Savannah. It's too far. I'm so sorry. This is the problem. What do they say? Never share the screen.
Right.
Or baby.
Right.
And I've
We
managed
do it
to land
both.
myself apart.
Yeah, we work with both of them.
Yeah.
I've honestly been waiting for this to happen, for a dog to just casually enter the frame. So I'm so happy.
Mission accomplished. But Michelle, go tell us.
Yeah,
your
poor Michelle has to follow
about
that.
this
Sorry.
reality.
I'm enjoying this ginormous dog, but oh yeah. So me, it was just an audition that had come through. I got this audition and another family drama actually, but this one was the first one that I read, and yeah, I had a very similar reaction. I totally judged it at first, like Council of Dads. It sounds like the worst script ever. The Council of Dads, totally judged it, and I was like, okay. Character gets married, like all this stuff, reading the description. And then I was reading the script and I read it all just on my bed, just read it completely through. And then as soon I was crying, I was like, what? And then I just got up out of my bed. I was like, this is my next role. And then I was like, wait, you didn't audition, sit down.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful. I agree with everyone, like what everyone was saying. It just felt like a very honest voice, because they're talking about a lot of things. And even it was also cool for me to read about a biracial woman and all that stuff, and who's bright and ambitious but also human. And I had a few friends that I grew up with who had all lost their dad around Luli's age, very recent, and it really affected them. It changes so much, and all of them were very close to their dad in real life. And so I just, like, it was already a story I was hearing people's heart about, and so it made me even more attracted to play a woman who had gone through that.
And
so if I can say this, please, just jumping in for 1 second. When we first arrived in Savannah to do this job, I kept joking that I felt like I was on the show Lost, because each one of us are drawn to this show because we have our own deeply personal story that we want to tell. As we went through each person, you see how we all had something really personal. I always say we all have skin in the game. And then for me personally too, it became, if I'm gonna play a Black gay man on television, because I know the experience, I wanna be there to make sure they get it right. I wanna be there to make sure they get all the nuances of what it means to move through life as a Black gay man in a relationship with another Black man. I wanted that to be so authentic, because I felt like, there was an opportunity to do some social justice there. So as you can see, we are all so deeply invested in this show.
And, Michele, to your credit, when you said that you kind of had this initial reaction of like, oh, this is going to be cheesy, this show could go wrong in so many ways. And it does, and it walks such a wonderful line and keeps from going maudlin. I'm sort of curious, is that all in the writing? I mean, how do you sort of find that tone?
It's kind of everybody, really, isn't it? I mean, it's the composer, it's the writer, it's everything. I mean, I know that there was a lot of discussions going on during filming to get the tone right. I mean, NBC were fantastic as well. They'd come in and they would have their notes, but then it's about choosing the right music. And Tony and Joan have got this amazing team that they've worked with for Grey's Anatomy and from other projects that they bring in and they trust. So it is. There's a lot of people involved in kind of creating the tone.
Yeah, and I will say. Oh, sorry. I was like, where did the voice come from? I didn't know who else was talking. Sorry. Go ahead, Sarah, and then I'll go.
Oh, wait.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, the writers, the script is such a skeleton. Like, it really is the foundation. And I really believe that this show, the tone is working because of the writers, of what Tony and Joan are doing. They're building us a skeleton to work with that is honest. And it's a gift as an actor, because we don't have to try and overcompensate for it. We can kind of just trust our instincts and fall in line with it. But yeah, that was just my comment.
No, and I mean, I think tonally, like, one of the things, I think it's not maudlin because it's honest. Oh my God, my forehead. So, right. We're just going to go with it.
You wearing sunscreen?
Glow. This conversation brought to you by Sarah's forehead. Anyway. But no, I mean, I think because, we've all come to this down to often even like day players who would show up for an episode or two with a deeply personal story of death or loss or cancer. This is something that's touched all of us so profoundly. And I think because people are coming to it with personal experiences, what you get is the honesty of the situation, which is that, like, the human heart can only sustain that level of pain for so long before you're like, water gun fight, or like, before some other instinct kicks in. Life isn't maudlin, even in the darkest, most heartbreaking moments. It's why people laugh at funerals, right? Because there is this human instinct, I think, to take that sort of dark knot of pain and diffuse it to make it bearable. And in the moments when you can't do it for yourself, it's the people around you who do it for you. You know what I mean? It's those moments when, like, you're at a funeral and your best friend turns to you and they're like, your mascara's running. you should fix that. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, thank you. That's what I needed that. I needed somebody to like bring me out of this. And that I think is the way it's written, because it's written honestly. I think that the stories that I see that get maudlin are trying to achieve something that's false. Mm-hmm. And what I kept hearing from Tony and Joan and the directors and each other as we would work on these scenes together on our weekends and our days off was, let's just be honest, play well or play badly, but play truly, right? Like that Stanislavski touchstone. Like people don't have to like this, but I do want them to believe it one way or another. I don't want them to look at us and be like, ugh, vanity, ugh, result, you know, at least let's be honest. And I think because that was something that we held as a standard for one another creatively, I think that's part of where it landed tonally then, in a place that, love it or hate it, maybe is honest.
And to Sarah's point, shout out to the directors. The directors, we worked with some incredible directors who were starting with James Strong, who directed our first 2 episodes. They were very clear with us about not trying to produce results or, you know, play the victim as your character, to always like play against the emotion. So shout out to them. They had such a strong guiding hand with us.
If I may add too, Jenelle, you know, this started with Tom Everett Scott's performance as the father. And he's the dad that we all want. And to lose him, to have that heart stilled, but continue to be the heart of the show, in and of itself creates an emotion for all of us. And there's such a genuine affection. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never seen such a genuine affection and respect happen in a cast as quickly as this did. It was, and it lent itself then to a vulnerability. And we were all so willing to go there. And yet, you know, there are times, I love episode 4. And one of the reasons is because the humor all of a sudden comes and raises its head. And Sarah, you know, meets Sam, and there's this charm thing that happens, you know. It is what life does. It forces you back into life. And yet, you know, Tom Everett Scotty is still there. Scott's still there, always with us.
I remember watching the screener for the first episode, and I was like, "You're gonna make me fall in love with this guy, and then you're gonna take him away." And you feel his presence throughout the series.
Yeah.
But Michael, you mentioned sort of how well you all got along, and I'm kind of curious because the chemistry is so important to a show like this, and there's so many different relationships because of the ensemble nature of the cast. Was that pretty instantaneous? Did any of you, this may sound strange, but did any of you do chemistry reads together, or did you all meet once you were cast?
Well, I did a chemistry read with Steven Silver for Evan, but I didn't do it with anyone else.
That worked out.
And I only chemistry read with him. Originally, it was supposed to be, I believe, 2 guys. Like I was preparing to do it with 2 guys, and I showed up. They're like, we only got 1 guy for you. Here you go. And then I was like, oh, okay. And it worked. So.
All in.
Speaking of instantaneous, I did not. I don't know if any of the rest of us did any chemistry reads, but when you talk about instantaneous connection with people, I saw Michael O'Neill checking into the Alita Hotel. And I recognized him from TV. I did the thing that people have done to me, and I just thought I knew him. And I told him I was thrilled to see him. I threw my arms around him, and I gave him a huge hug. And I pulled back, and I looked at his face, and I went, we don't know each other, do we? And he goes, well, we do now. And that was that. I mean, I don't know what, I think there's something right about this show that we're all there. We were all there for the same reasons, I think. You know, nobody took this because it's like a vanity show, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to get to look super cute. Like, no, I'm going to be crying for 5 episodes, you know? Like, I think everybody was there because they were there to serve the story. And because it's an ensemble show, I think that means that everybody shows up to work, right? There's no like, oh, we're here to serve this ego or make this person look good. Like, I think we were all there, like I said, for the same reasons. And I want to say, I think the kids helped too. Like the kids came with such a like, let's go, like love and joy. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's funny because they say never act with animals or children, and I think your young cast is outstanding.
I don't think I
Amazing.
could have got through the shoot without the kids and their families. I mean, it's a weird one for me to be away from home from my kids and things. It actually felt like not only the adults that we're talking to now, but the kids. For every kid, there comes a mum and a dad and their family and their grandparents come to visit and things. And it kind of kept me afloat. I think for other people would say the same. It kind of felt like a family away from a family, and it kept us all afloat.
There's another aspect of it too, Jenelle, and Sarah actually speaks to this more articulately than anyone I've heard speak about it. But we're showing a society that we see. This is life as it exists in our country now. And for my money, as an old white man, it's the most diverse, it's the most inclusive, it's the most tolerant cast on network television. And it moves me to get to play in a life that really exists, that has not been given it hasn't been in the photograph the way it really is. And I think for us to be able to do that is it's compelling. You go to work every day wanting the best out of one another, wanting the best out of yourself, certainly, but wanting the best opportunity to bring to life what Joan and Tony have written and included. And it's happened on both sides of the camera.
Yeah, the crew too. I mean, this was an extraordinary show for Luis, our the head of our grip department. Like, he would take me aside and he'd be like, I need to talk about Act 2 in the next episode because I don't understand why you're doing this. And so, we would get deep into character and motivation, and this entire crew, they loved it. They felt that it was a story that they were a part of. And that representation was on both sides of the lens. I mean, I don't know about anybody else. I've never had as diverse a crew and department heads as they assembled in Savannah. But knowing that everybody's all in, I think it allows you to be vulnerable. It allows you to show up and be like, I'm gonna be a hot mess today. I may do some stuff that really doesn't work. Super sorry. It's just kind of how it's going to go. Yeah, everybody on this Skype call, except you, Jenelle, has seen me at my worst. And there's grace in that, I think.
I know we're waiting to hear on a season 2, but I'm feeling very confident about it. And I would love to know, where would you like to see your characters go? Or is there someone you're really dying to do a scene with? Or do you have in your mind sort of a dream storyline for your character?
Well, my character has a very life-changing event that happens at the end of the season that I don't want to spoil. So when we get a season 2, it'll be really great to live under those circumstances that mean so much to Oliver.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, a lot still happens, the last 2 episodes, a lot of things change, and it would be, for season 2, just to see how the family comes together again. It's we climb a mountain just to be the bottom of another mountain. It's just that's life, right? So it's just interesting it'll be really cool to just see the evolution of the family. And for Luli and Evan, they're getting older and more independent, and just kind of watching the young couple kind of find their own way and what that looks like, what they really want, and to explore that.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens next.
I think we're going to find out that Anthony's actually Evan's father as well.
That's going to be interesting.
Horrifying. I want a council of moms. I want Evan's mom, Luli's birth mom, and Robin
and
to have and Robin's mom to be able to get together and go, you know what, Council of Dads, when we disagree with you, get on the front lawn, get your water guns, the kids can referee, we're going to settle this like grown-ups.
Yeah.
Escorting each other with water guns. on a very bug-filled lawn. Can we just take a moment? Can we just take a moment to like give our honest praise to the battle that was fought between the bugs of Savannah and the cast of Council of Dads? We lost the war, parenthetically, but if we go back for season 2, I think between Michelle's peppermint soap and like you gave everybody, was it peppermint? You gave everybody some like anti-bug soap for.
Yeah, it's like peppermint and what's it? Cedarwood or something, or
something like that. Yeah.
Lemongrass.
Lemongrass.
Body, so then they don't like the smell of lemongrass, so it helps you, I guess.
Good.
I wrapped it up in.
I don't think anybody like me walking around smelling lemongrass.
I'm bringing it back with me. Yeah.
I want to remind everyone watching at home for information on SAG-AFTRA Foundation's COVID-19 Relief Fund. You can look in the comments. And please check out the show. There's still a couple episodes left. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.